Okay, just waiting for YouTube to catch up.
Yay, YouTube.
Yay, we're on.
Yep, there we go. So hello, everybody.
Hi.
Good evening, good morning, whatever it is where you are.
Hi.
It are late here, but not as late as normal.
It is midnight for me.
It is 1 a.m. for me, and my cat is wide awake and ripping apart the room. Yay.
Yeah, well, I've got midnight here, which used to be the time that he always went crazy. But he's decided to push that back now, so now it's more like 2:30.
Oh, yay, fun.
Yeah, I'm usually still up then, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. But
I've probably got about 30 minutes, maybe an hour before my cat will start like coming over and putting her paws up on my leg and meowing at me and then walking towards the bedroom. Like, it's time to go to bed, woman. You're up too late.
yeah, I think Sloth Girl wound up going to bed early tonight. I don't think she's going to be with us here.
Oh, man. No, mine doesn't tell me when it's bedtime. If I'm not sleepy, he will curl up next to me and be fine. But the moment that I go to sleep, it doesn't matter what he's been doing. He will come and cuddle up with me and claw my neck out. Because apparently that's how he shows love.
One of our cats will go pass out on the couch until I go to bed. And then at some point, the other one starts annoying me to go to bed because I've apparently been up too late. So, meh.
Yeah, Sammy's son usually hangs around and waits for me to turn off the nightlight because then he knows I'm finally settled in, and then he'll jump up on the bed.
Mine knows when I'm getting ready for bed, though, and he asks for food one more time. Like, even if I don't do it in the right order, he can tell. Usually for him, he knows that if the computer goes up at a certain time of night, he knows it's bedtime.
Ours don't. They don't ask for food until they get to the bottom layer of food and can see like the tiniest speck of the bottom of the bowl.
Mine eats mostly wet food due to health issues.
Ah.
So basically, as long as he's eating and he's asking to eat, I present the food.
Hello.
Hey,
Got Atheist Veteran joining us.
what's up, people?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah,
Hello.
you're pretty quiet there. Can you turn up a bit?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. Yeah, one sec.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah. Let me see.
So
If my background noise starts coming through, just let me know.
I didn't notice anything.
Okay.
It's there, but it's not really all that bad. I'll let you know if it does get bad, though.
Okay.
So.
I tried to let hubby and our friend know that I was coming in, and they're in the other room watching TV, but they're getting a little loud, so.
Conspiracy, we haven't heard from Diana, so we're assuming she's sleeping. Sloth Girl went to bed, and I don't know about anybody else.
Yep. Yeah, so we're missing two of our regulars.
So what preps are you having to make? Are you having to pack for the Kentucky? I think it's you guys are going to Kentucky, right? To protest?
Yep. Oh, crap. Yeah. Well, mostly I've been having to do some work on my car to make sure it was up for everything.
Yeah, making sure the car doesn't break down on the way there is probably a good idea.
So which fest are you going to?
Actually, we're going to the protest at the Ark Encounter.
Oh, the protest. Okay. I didn't even
So,
know that there was a protest happening.
yeah, they do it every year on the anniversary of it opening. It's organized by the Tri-State Freethinkers there.
I didn't know it was a yearly thing. That means that I could possibly go next year.
Yep. Yeah,
If
this will be the third one, as far as I know.
Stop it. Sorry, my cat
So
is
mostly I'm going because it'd be an opportunity to, meet a bunch of the people that I've been following, and especially some of the big names. Aaron Ra's going to be there.
Yep. How's everyone doing anyway?
I'm doing okay.
I'm awake, I think.
Purple, you're not mad at me, are you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
The situation got handled. Everything's turned out okay.
It's all right. It's good.
I'm going to grab a drink. I will be right back.
Yeah,
Yes, Tony, I love how the Ark got flooded and then the insurance said
Yeah. Well, it didn't actually affect the Ark building. It flooded out one of the access roads, which apparently the engineers had told him that when they built it, that the substrate wasn't solid. And he told them to go ahead anyway.
Well, that's his problem. What were you going to say before?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, I was just saying Dick Kennedy, yeah, he was really cool about that. So got handled pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one time that the chat rather ran off the rails, and
yeah.
I'm still new to this, so I'm not that great at moderating things yet.
It's all good. I mean, it's how it is.
Yeah, Tony, I'm not too worried about Diana. She probably just dozed off. I know she's really looking forward to the trip next week, so. Although she has been saying that she's been feeling just very tired lately.
Yeah.
Which, she's concerned maybe her, kidney problems progressing. That apparently one of the symptoms of going into stage 4 is a chronic fatigue.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all thinking for the most part. But, I mean, even if that's the case, though, like, she really wants to go do that Ark thing so bad, and I'm fairly certain that she could probably just sleep in the car, so.
Yeah. Well, and that's, we've got it set up to, that we'll drive down to Kentucky on Friday and spend a night in a hotel there, so that Saturday morning, then we're right there. And we don't have a long drive to it on Saturday morning before the event starts.
Yeah, because that's going to be a long day.
Well, officially, the protest only runs about 4 hours, but from what I've seen from people doing, it seems that it just kind of goes into a general party thing after that.
Well, the reason I say it's going to be a long day is it gets hot in Kentucky. And even 4 hours, if you're not doing that much, but you're outside, that can take a toll.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as I understand it, the plan for it is that everybody's gathering at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and just kind of standing by the highway with signs and such, and at noon, actually, like marching up to the front gate of where Ken Ham's property starts, and then back down to the area where we started. Basically, so we can't get anybody on trespassing, but get right up there by the gate, and so any cars going in see the signs.
There's been a lot of rain and storms recently, so maybe you'll get lucky and it won't be hot that day, but it won't be stormy either.
Yeah, as long as it's not, the humidity. If it gets too muggy, that can be worse.
Yeah.
I like Beach's advice. Take termites.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Beach, this isn't connected with the NIFB at all. This is just Ken Ham's foolishness.
Yeah, I think there's a few more protests happening with the Make America Straight Again bullshit. But to be honest, I've not been keeping up very well. And the fact that they had it in Orlando so close to me kind of scared the holy living bejesus out of me. And I got really worried about everybody down there. And so, yeah, I've kind of pulled away from that subject for my own mental, break type thing.
Oh, you should go and see Holy Kool-Aid's video, that he just did kind of a wrap-up on how it all went down there.
Yeah,
it actually turned out surprisingly well.
I kind of figured, because considering that I'm in Jacksonville and Orlando is like where everybody goes basically for touristy crap, I assumed that if things went poorly, it would have been on the news. So, but it was a little bit nerve-wracking that entire weekend.
Yeah, I have to say, I think that the police department down there handled it exactly the right way. That they had enough people there, like they were sitting across the street, so they were visible, but they weren't getting involved with the protest or interacting, so no one could accuse them of seeming to support either side.
Yeah. Like I said, I figured that if things went poorly, I definitely would have heard something. Because, like I said, Orlando's kind of where we all go for funsies. So, either Orlando or St. Augustine.
Well, I know about Orlando. What's in St. Augustine?
St. Augustine is the, I believe, the oldest continuous city in the United States. Like, there are settlements that were older, but they didn't they didn't last as long, if I'm remembering correctly. I know if it's not the oldest, it's one of the oldest. There's the fort. There's lots of architectural buildings. There's museums. There's artworks. All kinds of
Prophet is on with us.
Oh, cool. Hi, Prophet of Zod.
Let's see. Oh, there's the lighthouse, which is a achievement if you walk I think it's 500 stairs. Some outrageous freaking number.
Prophet of Zod says hi.
Hi.
Yep. So I don't know. I'm just trying to break up the silence here. But did anyone watch the debate tonight?
No, I didn't. didn't know that it was going on because I'm a little bit not paying attention to stuff.
I knew that it was happening, and I am a lazy citizen.
Lazy citizen.
Yes.
I don't know. These first debates are just basically just to weed out the weak links to me. You know, I got an idea of who I like, but you know, it's nice to see all the other faces. But yeah, there's a few people that probably should drop out within the next week or so. At least I would hope so.
There's so many of them.
I know, right?
I
No,
don't
Joe
know.
Biden got smacked pretty hard today.
I don't know how I feel about the debates because I don't know how much of what they're saying they're actually going to stick to, and how much of what they're saying is just stuff
You
they're
can pretty much
saying.
bank on them not doing anything they're going to say.
Yeah, so I'm like, if
Um,
that's the case, I don't
Well,
understand
I
why.
believe some of what Bernie Sanders says because he's been so consistent over the past, I don't know, past like 4 decades.
Well,
But
that's true.
But then again, you know, I'm always disappointed when the guy I want in the office always you know, always doesn't do what they say they're going to do. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie Sanders, if he did ever get elected, you know, decided to just do a 180. But, you know, that's just my cynicism on the whole political process.
I don't think Bernie would, you know, just based on what he's done, you know, as a senator.
Yeah.
That he has pretty much stuck to what he told people he originally was going to do.
I agree. I don't think he would, but I wouldn't be shocked if it happened. That's all I'm saying. I don't trust any politician.
It wouldn't be out of the norm for U.S. politics for that to happen.
Well, actually, I really think that that's why he can't get the DNC to support him, and you know why they didn't support him in the last election.
It doesn't matter. It
It's
doesn't
because
matter.
the DNC is afraid that on some critical piece of legislature, he may decide to do the right thing rather than pulling the party line.
Yeah. You know, he's not a Nancy Pelosi. You know,
I would be okay with, you know, either Bernie Sanders or a Warren Harris.
I mean, Elizabeth Warren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she's all right. She's not exactly where I want to be when it comes to the whole the foreign policy thing, but she's got a. I'll give it to her. She definitely knows how to lay out a plan, and that's what I like. I want to hear what exactly they're going to do. I don't want to hear platitudes. I don't want to hear I like good things. I hate bad things. Vote for me. Stand together. You know, that kind of crap. I want to hear what they want to do. And I think the thing is with a lot of these politicians in this huge field, they're just saying that either they're just saying I like good things and I like bad things, or they're just kind of compromising on everything. Like Medicare for all. I believe there's one candidate today is like, well, you know, basically he just said compromise on everything. You know, we got to work with the Republicans. When have the Republicans ever worked with us?
Yeah.
Never. And that's how they win, because their base knows that they're not going to give us a damn inch. And you know, the thing that's why we're always screwed, because we always give them an inch and they take a mile. And then when we need something, there's like, nope. I mean, just look at Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell couldn't give us an inch when Justice Scalia died. And it was our turn to pick a Supreme Court. Didn't give us an inch, and we were like, all right, that's fine. You know, we'll wait till after the election. And now look what's happened. They've gotten 2 Supreme Court justices and Mitch McConnell has said even if the election is close and another Supreme Court justice leaves, you still gonna push it through the Senate, which is bullshit. But we did to ourselves.
Well, and one of the things I think that the Democrats have to realize, they're not going to win with a candidate who's trying to placate everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If they actually want to get some of the actual independent voters, they're going to need a candidate who's going to piss some people off.
Yeah.
They're actually going to have to be on the left about some things to have a chance, I think, to get the demographic.
Yeah, we can't be doing the same thing we're always doing. We can't be pushing a centrist constantly.
Yeah, they can't just be coddling their base. If they want to
Yeah.
get the undecided voters, they're going to actually have to take a solid position on some issues.
Well, they need to realize that the future is left. Everyone, all the kids growing up today are going to be for progressive policies.
I
But,
actually just learned this week that we don't have an actual leftist party in the U.S.
No.
And I didn't know that. That blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness.
No, not if you compare it to like Britain or Australia. Nothing close.
Yeah. But the furthest left you'll get is Bernie Sanders, and he only runs as a Democrat because he has to. He's actually independent. But that's the sad thing, is that you have to run as either as a Democrat or as a Republican to have any chance. And I feel like the best solution is for a third party, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it just splits the vote, and then the Republicans win anyway. So
the two-party system is a problem. We would do much better if we had like 5 major parties.
Well, what we should do is just get rid of the electoral college, but no one wants to hear that.
I see the pros and cons with that.
I don't see any pros with the electoral college because, sure, yeah, you're not pandering as much as the flyover states, but why should you? There's only if one place has 500 voters, why do they have more of a say than some place has 1,500 voters? It doesn't make sense to put more power into the hands of fewer people in regions of the country that are just nothing but farmland and dirt. It makes no sense.
Theory, it's not supposed to give them more. It's supposed to give them equal, but in practice, I don't know that that's how it actually works out. And I kind of feel like the more people you have between the voters casting their votes and those votes actually getting counted to see who wins, the more chances you have for, corruption and crap like that to take place. So
okay. I want to mention Prophet Zod's comment right here. He says a huge Democratic field is one of the few things I see playing to Trump's favor, and I totally agree. Because they're going to be spending this whole time tearing each other down. That and Trump is just going to feed on that. It's just going to give him inspiration. It's just going to get, and I just feel like it's not going to work as well. We all know what the end result's going to be. In the end, it's going to be Warren, Sanders, and Biden, and that's what's going to be almost all the way to the end. And I think this whole thing is pointless, and it's just waste time for Democrats.
The DNC basically has already decided they want Biden, and they're trying to push that so that people will think it was their choice.
No, Biden shot himself in the foot so hard today, though. I mean, MSNBC tried so hard to give him as much time as possible, but he was not energetic. He was not. It was no passion in anything he said. It was just boring Joe Biden. But when Bernie Sanders spoke, it was just like, which he had to fight for his time to speak. But when he spoke, it was, that fiery Bernie Sanders. And even when Kamala Harris, who I don't support and I think is a crooked cop, but regardless, she hit him pretty hard and she did a better job at the debate today. Overall, I say Kamala Harris won the debate, followed by Bernie.
I have a random question.
Got a random
I've
answer.
got lots of random answers. Let's see if any of them connect.
I'm wondering, like, now that the majority of people, well, I'd say the majority, that's my perception anyway, are using streaming services to watch TV or they're online on YouTube.
Mhm.
Do you think that that's had a major effect on maybe not seeing as much of the mudslinging that happened when only cable TV was an option? Or is that still happening and I'm just oblivious to it somehow?
No, because we just see the mudslinging on Facebook and Twitter now.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's
Yeah.
still there. It's just moved locations.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least the highlight.
I was hoping for a minute there.
No. Stop having hope.
No.
That was your first mistake, is having hope.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really, I've given up on the American system, and I've been pushing to get Canada to annex the upper Midwest.
Oh, that's mean. You'd leave me behind in Florida where it's hell?
Well, no. I did have a plan that we'd build a refugee camp in Minnesota for all the Southerners who want to escape.
That's fair.
Yeah. You'll at least treat us better than we treat Mexican refugees.
Oh, man. Just, I've had so many arguments with my family over that because they're like, that's not actually happening. That's just alarmist rhetoric. And you're always getting on to us about listening to fear-mongering sites, and here you are. And I'm like, the difference is y'all are making up shit in your head and getting scared over it. And I check my sources and make sure that they're not from fear-mongering sites that are trying to take your money and get you to be all mad and shit. And holy fuck, what's going on is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, especially, because some people, Fox News is like the only source they watch. So anything that conflicts with their narrative, they just don't believe. And you notice we never had fake news until we had a fake president.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, a lot of times I have to check myself because the reality that I lived in was pretty freaking twisted. So I often have to check myself and make sure. And there are times where I read stories and I go, surely that cannot be true.
Hello.
But it's my job, if I'm feeling that, to not just dismiss that, but to make double sure that, that what my brain is gearing into isn't a shutdown because it's too much information to take.
I think a lot of what is playing into people believing fake news and stuff like that is their public school systems teaching kids what to think and not how to think.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
they started doing that really, really heavily. Like, it's always been slight problem with a few bright spots in between, but they only really started cracking down on doing that right before I graduated from high school. I saw it with a lot of the teachers losing a lot of their leeway and the No Child Left Behind Act, which
Yeah.
people think that I'm being kind of conspiracy theorist about it, but I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that was actually on purpose, mostly to save money, because it's cheaper to put all of the kids in mainstream classrooms, but also partially because if you create a stupid population, they're easier to manipulate.
Well, I went all the way through kindergarten through graduating high school and never had a single class focus on how to do research.
Yeah, I've only taken those classes when I started going to college.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in grade school, it was never this is how you figure out, you know, what you're going to talk about. And this is how you're going to back up your claims and stuff like that. It was always just like, hey, write an essay. Write an essay. That's all I want. That's all I want. Write an essay. How you get the information, I don't care. But in when I went to college, you know, it's like, oh, here's all these resources. Here's how you use these resources. Here's how you look up this information. Here's how you know it's good information. Here's how you know it's bad information. And I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, okay, this is nice to know now. Now that I'm 30 years old, going to college for the first time.
Right.
Well, and the thing is that then they'd be like, well, yeah, see, we've taught that we've shown everybody how to research, which is, you know, it'll be like, well, see, they learn how to research here in college. And it's like, but not everybody can get to college, and college is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And when you do hit college, if you're not lucky enough to get a full ride, you wind up having to get loans, and then you pay loans the rest of your life.
You know that
well, see, and it is very much a class thing. That it really only is people in the upper income that are going to get to college.
Well,
the families that are working paycheck to paycheck, there's no way their kids are going to get into college.
Nope.
Well, the thing is that's not entirely true. I mean, well, at least not in my state. I think there's a lot. Yes, it's easier to get into college, especially those big colleges. The big Ivy League colleges. You have to be in the upper. You have to have a lot of income. Yeah, sure, that's correct. But you can do like community college or whatever. You can do it for damn near free. I know I got the Pell Grant, for example. The Pell Grant pays the Pell Grant, the bog waiver, all this stuff pays for me to go to college and actually throw some extra money in my pocket.
When was the last time they updated the poverty line for that, though? Because when I went not that long ago, they hadn't increased the bottom line for what you could get for the Pell Grant, and there were people who should have gotten a Pell Grant that did not.
I know that I don't know that when they increased it or if they have increased it. I just know that the thing is, people don't know about these programs. That's what I'm saying. People don't. For the longest time, I thought he's like, well, I'm not going to be able to get an education, so I better join the military. And I did that. Then I hear all these stories about all my friends who used the Pell Grant instead of their GI Bill, and then all this stuff. I had to learn this stuff as an adult instead of it being taught to me in high school. Hey, here are your resources.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying is that it's not just that people are unable to because of their income, but they're also unable to because they lack information on the subject. I'm not saying everyone can get into college. I'm just saying a lot of people who don't have a college education or think they can't get into college probably can. And if they can't,
but like I said, unless that bottom layer has been raised to be a little bit, if it hasn't been updated, there are a lot of people who should be able to get Pell Grants who still, even if they knew, would not be able to.
Yeah, but that's the shitty thing about it. To fill out a FAFSA application is free. You can find out.
Yeah, and they were really pushing for us to use FAFSA when I was in high school. We were literally put into assembly rooms, and they said, we don't care whether or not you're going to college, go ahead and fill this stuff out.
But that's the thing, though, is like, who retains information in an assembly room? Who goes to it? You got to talk to these kids one-on-one just to explain to them what they're doing and what they're filling out and why it's important.
Well,
I did get that, not from that particular thing, but I agree with you that it's not widespread enough, and I feel like at this point it's done on purpose too.
Yeah.
The next thing we're going to be facing is a generation of parents that did go to college, that did get a degree, and that have never used their degree once in their entire life, that are going to be maybe counseling their kids that the amount of debt that you rack up for going to college may not be worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and the
true.
thing is that in a lot of cases, that's true. If you rack up a certain amount of debt and you're not using it, it isn't worth it. One of the things that I get aggravated with is when you go to college, they want you to know exactly what you want to do um, from the get-go, which is fair, especially with the expense. But in high school, you aren't really given a lot of opportunities to explore a lot of that. Especially nowadays. Like at my old high school, we used to have like 5 or 6 design classes where you could learn different kinds of design methods. They had a photography class. They had like, I think 15 different, completely different economics classes that you could take, including cooking and family budgeting, which, you know, when you're a teenager, you don't really think that much about. And then you have like a wife and kids. And then all of a sudden you're like, how do I make this tiny, teeny, tiny little amount of money work?
Yeah.
You know, all of that shit, except for maybe 1 or 2 things, have all been cut from funding at my old high school. They still have all the classrooms. They still have a lot of the equipment that they might need to repair, but they definitely wouldn't necessarily need to replace. But because there's no funding, the kids are not trying all of these things or given the opportunities to try them. And I think that hurts in the long run.
And it's one of the reasons we're as behind compared to other countries as we are, because in some other countries, family budgeting and the cooking and those types of classes are required curriculum. They're not even elective, they're required.
Yeah.
And see, that's something that I'm seeing. I was going to school back in the 70s, and I'm really surprised compared to what I'm hearing about other states now, how progressive and much more practical an education I got than what most of the kids now seem to be getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just saddens me because, like I said, if you give kids the opportunity to try things, it can help a lot with helping them determine what they actually want to do. It can help them determine whether or not college is actually in the cards for them, because while college is good and people need to get as much education as is right for them, for some people college is not the right answer, trade school is, and for some people, neither is best. But if you don't have the opportunities and you're not given the information to figure out whether or not you can make a living off of what you want to do, you're just going to wind up getting people making so many mistakes in the dark and paying for it terribly.
You want to know what my problem with the school system is? It's just nothing more than it seems like it's nothing more than a prison nowadays. Like let's give an example of my high school. When I went to my high school, it was pretty much an open campus. It's like you come, and really there was really no one stopping you from leaving. You were just hurting yourself if you left. The curriculum wasn't too dry, but it was all right. But now I drive my old high school because I'm unfortunate enough to still be in this town. But I drive it. There's gates everywhere. The kids look like they're just hating life. It's just I mean, I don't blame them for not wanting to retain information when they're bored out of their mind.
Yeah,
You know,
When I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
When I went through high school, the whole push was college. There was no leeway given to trade school or given to anybody that had an artistic interest or that was interested in being an entrepreneur. Like, no, you have to go to college.
yep,
And
Yeah.
that's so many missed opportunities because, I mean, not everybody is designed to learn by sitting in a classroom for hours upon hours upon hours.
Just being fed regurgitated information.
Exactly.
It's always just like, how much can you? It's not how much it's about how much you can remember until the test, and then you just do a brain dump after the test.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah. I've struggled watching through because my sister was in the ESE classrooms right when they started to try to what they call mainstreaming everybody. And I honestly think that someday somebody's going to be stupid enough to pass that and get it through. And that's just going to make the entire situation worse. I was also lucky that they hadn't tried to make everybody teach the exact same way before before uh, right before I graduated. And while I understand that you need to bring teachers who are not that great up to par, you also shouldn't limit the really, really, really great teachers and what they do and how they teach in their classrooms. Because if you can get a teacher who can keep everybody's interest, they're going to retain that information.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I remember from 10th grade from one particular teacher. I don't remember much else about 10th grade, but I remember that teacher, that classroom, and most of the things she taught me.
I think
Well, and getting back to what people were saying earlier about critical thinking and research skills, I actually had to do that when I was in middle school. I had to do term papers, and we had to include a bibliography. We had to have a full list of our resources.
You don't start doing term papers until college now.
Yeah, I was doing those in 5th and 6th grade.
My mom always tells me, like, you don't know how lucky you had it. I had to open up encyclopedias and write on a typewriter. I'm just like, you know what? That might be the problem. Because we have teachers, at least when I was going to school, we had teachers who were used to the old way of researching, But when I was going to school, we had the internet. It was a new thing, but we did have Google.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard for the teachers to teach how to research, even because their method of research has died out.
Well, and also the internet exploded in a way that nobody really saw coming.
No, nobody was prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount, because I think Atheist Veteran and I are only a couple of years apart. When I was a kid, you pretty much, what internet you had was pretty much used for amusement purposes, stuff like the Bubble Pop app, and then there was the little lady dropping through the bubbles, and we thought it was goofy and fun, and there was Hamster Dance, and then you could use it for a little bit of research, but you're still mostly using books. And now kids barely walk into a library.
Oh, yeah. And you know what?
I feel old because Oregon Trail didn't happen until I was in middle school.
I was in first grade when Oregon Trail came out.
I was about to say, I think I may not have been in school yet when Oregon Trail came out.
You want to know what's
Yeah,
funny? I saw a mobile, a handheld Oregon Trail game at Walmart
Oh
the other day.
God,
Like $20.
no,
That
I
does
was like,
not need to be
"Dad,
revived.
la
No
la la la
child
la.
you have
in
died of dysentery."
elementary or middle school should know what dysentery is.
Oh no, they should. Oregon Trail is my jam.
Oregon
yeah,
Trail
No,
is
I
the
didn't
only
even
reason
get
I know what that is.
I didn't even get my first home computer until after I had graduated high school.
Oh wow.
You know, and that was a Commodore 64.
Oh wow. Commodore 64. Wait, that's I mean,
Well, that
no
was the
wonder
early
why your
80s.
avatar is a dinosaur. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sorry.
oh dude,
I
let me.
graduated high school in 1982.
Oh, that's the year I
God
was
damn, I was
born.
-5 years old.
Yep.
I was
That-
And
negative 2.
and everybody laughed at me when I got that Commodore 64. And I was telling people in the 80s that by the time my kids were going to high school, that computers were going to be as common as TV sets. And everybody laughed at me.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Tony Designs. Good God, you people are young. Well, thank you, Tony. That I definitely needed to hear that.
Yeah, after we were talking about, well, look how far computers have come. I remember having my Game Boy and trying to sit in the car at night, trying to play that sucker as the lights went whizzing by on the highway, because
Oh,
you couldn't.
no.
That screen did not light up.
No, there was no backlight on an old school Game Boy.
My
my
first
sister-
gaming system was an Atari.
Oh, I wish I had an Atari.
I was only allowed the Game Boy, and that was only because my dad bought one for me when he wasn't supposed to, because my mom had said no gaming consoles of any sort. And my dad was just like, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. And then bought me a Game Boy.
Yeah, I had one you've probably never heard of. I had one of the Bally Midway gaming consoles.
Nope, never
And
heard of
this
it.
was before the consoles had cartridges. This was just one that happened to have like 25 games built into it.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
haven't heard of that one.
I've seen some old school consoles where you just put like a piece of paper on the screen and it just gives you a dot and you just follow the layout of the paper.
Yeah, not that far back, but yeah, actually, when I was in school, that they had one computer for the whole school district.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I can't figure out what you would do with one computer for a whole school district.
Well, that's it. It was one central computer at the school district office, and the schools actually had to dial into it with teletype machines.
God damn. Y'all put little punch cards in there and shit.
my mom.
I had learned to
play with
program
one
on
of
punch
those.
cards when I was going to the tech school.
Oh, fuck that.
I actually did those, yes.
Oh.
Oh man.
I'm gonna have to jump off here. It is close to 1 a.m. and I am getting CDs.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks
Goodbye.
for joining us.
Thank you for letting me jump in. This was fun. Bye, guys.
Anytime.
Bye.
Yeah, so Tony's about a year ahead of me.
Well,
He said he graduated in 81.
I didn't know we had a competition going.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest. No.
Nope.
Oh.
I think I'm the youngest in this conversation.
Oh,
now that
yeah.
now that one atheist, one witch is left.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. I realized that most of the people I talk to on YouTube are younger than kids I raised.
Right? I have a few of my followers on Twitter who are just now posting like, oh, just graduated high school. I'm just like, what? I've been talking to you for like 4 years.
What's really
Oh.
fun is when you realize that the kids that you babysat have all grown up and have children of their own, and you're just like, I'm old. What the fuck?
Oh, my nieces are
Yep.
are about to turn 8. One of them's about to turn 18, and the other two aren't far behind. And I'm just like, I remember when you were shitting in a diaper. I was like, what the fuck happened to you?
Well, that's my youngest ward is in college now, and I held her at the hospital when she was 6 hours old,
Yeah, it's
and that's the youngest one of the group. That's through the course of 4 relationships, I wound up helping to raise 9 kids.
That's
I
a
know
lot of kids.
my kids are growing up way too fast. Way too fast. It's just, it's weird to see them because it's like, where does all the time go? Where does it go? I just look at my kids. One day they're pooping in their diapers. Next day they're going off to kindergarten. Next day, next day they're saying their first curse word. And I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Conspiracy, I am not having children, so I don't know what my I get to feel old moment is, but it will not be having grandchildren.
You never will. You never will. As long as you have kids, you will be young forever.
If you're gonna have any nieces or nephews, you'll watch those.
Yeah.
Nope. Because my sister can't have kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would not leave my sister in charge of children for anything more than like a quick, like half hour, I'm right around the corner and can come rescue thing.
Yeah. That's the thing, though. It's like when you have kids, you're very particular about who watches your kids. Like my brother's not allowed to watch my kids anymore. I'm like, fuck no. Well, because I came home one day, I told him, I was like, hey, Josh, I need to go to work. Can you watch the kids? He's like, yeah, I can do that. I come home at lunchtime. My kids are still in the crib crying with a fucking shit and piss filled diapers. And my brother passed out in his bed. And I was like, dude, what the hell? Yeah, he never got to watch the kids after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you gotta be really careful about who you let watch your kids.
Well, yeah, the thing is that my sister has spina bifida, and she's also not neurotypical. So there would have to be a huge amount of improvement, or she has to have like an amazing partner in order for her to have kids.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, I just seem to have developed a pattern that women who weren't interested in dating me once they had kids looked at me completely differently.
Oh,
so
exactly.
Apparently I was putting something out that, they weren't interested in me as a boyfriend or a husband, but as a father, I looked pretty good.
Yeah.
uh,
I've noticed a lot of that. Like a lot of my ex-girlfriends from high school, I get didn't want to talk to me after high school, but as soon as I got married and as soon as they had kids, next thing you know, I'm getting messages on Facebook. Hey, what's up? I'm just like, nope, sorry, too late. But it's like as soon as you have, it's because it's not about what they want anymore. It's about what their kids need, and sometimes they'll come back. They'll come back to you, because they need something, and whether you accept that or not, that's on you. But personally, me, I don't accept that.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, after the relationships were over, I wound up missing the kids more than the women. So,
oh yeah.
Part
of lives.
A couple of the kids I'm still in contact with on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it's like I dated one girl one time who had kids, and I was just like, she was a crazy. We broke up because I was an atheist, and her parents were hardcore Christians, and they said that their daughter can't date, which I don't understand. This was a full-grown woman, but I guess her parents have control over her relationships. So they said their daughter can't, be in a relationship with someone who's not a God-fearing man. And just to defend myself, I actually tried. I actually went to a church session to, try to, prove to their parents that I'm willing to try. But she had a kid, and she had a couple kids, and I grew kind of attached to those kids, but she didn't want nothing to do with me, so that's how that went.
And
Yeah. Well, I wound up kind of aging out of a couple of the relationships. Was that once the kids were old enough to take care of themselves, it seemed I had kind of outlived my usefulness.
I know I'm getting a little bit off track right here, but I know my atheism has screwed over a few of my, but it also my wife herself is not an atheist, and it does pop up every once in a while that I am an atheist, and that she's like, we'll be doing arguments, and she'll be like, we're gonna be in it. Me and the kids are gonna be in heaven. You're gonna be in hell. I'm like, whatever. I don't know. I just kind of thought that was always funny.
Yeah, again, I didn't really get into those discussions. That was at the time that I was,
Yeah.
I was pagan then, but
pagan.
I didn't really, wind up running into that too much. It was a problem with one of my relationships, was that her parents were, very heavily Lutheran.
Yeah.
So that certainly they didn't approve of that. But at the same time, I was taking care of her kids. So it's like, yeah, they tolerated me, but they didn't really want me around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the counts against me is I live in Florida, in Jacksonville specifically, which pretty much the best way to explain how politics works is I think at least half, maybe even more, of the people on our city council all go to the same big church downtown.
Yeah, of course you do.
So, me being an atheist, like I'm not in any physical danger. Like it's not that kind of thing, but definitely would be like, well, you're an atheist, I'm Christian. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the side, Tony Design was saying that his neighbors asked him to watch their kid and take her to the store. And actually, it's one of my most memorable experiences was realizing how much of an instinct I had for it. That I had one of the girls in the shopping cart, and some idiot made the mistake of stepping in between me and the kid I was taking care of.
Uh-oh.
And I went full mama bear on him. It's like, no, you don't get that close to my kid.
Yeah. Oh.
So it's like, yeah, none of them were actually mine as far as having my DNA, but, when I took that on.
Yeah. And I understand that. Dude, when people like drive recklessly and my kids are in the car, I flip out. My wife would be driving and I'll be out the window. I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? I got kids in here. But the thing is like there's that natural instinct that we all have, well, at least most of us should have. We want to protect our children. Some of us don't have it, anti-vaxxers. But
Well, and on that subject, I think our society presses children so badly that a lot of times people who shouldn't have children wind up having them. And usually, with the exception of some really special cases, the biggest thing that I say about not having children is if you don't want them, don't have them.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's pretty much the biggest qualifier. There's a couple of others, like if you have a history of abuse, you got to get that sorted out before you ever have them if you want them bad enough. But if you don't want them, don't have them.
Yeah. Well, here's
Yeah,
the problem.
that's
Here's the problem. Is like we're now at a point where we're limiting access to
Birth
healthcare.
control and
Birth
healthcare.
control.
Yeah.
And it's irritating to me because first of all, I believe the world's overpopulated as it is, and second of all, the people who fucking have like a million fucking kids in their 2-bedroom trailer are never great contributors to the society. So they're just breeding more dumb fucks. So, I hate to say it like that, but it's true. But these people should have access to birth control and Planned Parenthood, and we just deny them that, and people are denying them that.
Yeah, and also I realize where the control is coming from, because it goes back to the if we putting controls in place for politicians to manipulate people, and I honestly believe that that's pretty much what the birth control and the healthcare issues are, is keeping the underlings under people's thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, and our society still has, a lot of pressure and a lot of stigma on that there's still, really a push that there's something wrong with you if you don't have kids by the time you're 30, 35.
Oh, yeah, I know how that feels because I'm in that group.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you want children? And I'm like, look, I like children. I can babysit children for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But I have an expiration, and no child deserves that expiration time.
Yeah.
Known. And for me, depending on the kid, it can be between 3 to 5 hours. But once that 5 hours is done, I'm not good with your kid anymore. And you're not going to like me, and I'm not going to like myself, because I will have been I will be put on burnout and then say something terrible to your child, and that poor kid doesn't deserve that.
Yeah. Well, at least you're honest about it. A lot of people actually go into childcare knowing that they're like that, but don't say a damn thing.
Yeah, I'm basically like, look, I've got a time limit. If that, I will help you to the best of my ability, but I have a time limit, and your kid doesn't deserve my time limit.
Yeah.
They don't.
I don't know. I get frustrated with a lot of things, but somehow I could always, I could hold it together for the kids. Usually because most of the time I was feeling sorry for them. But also, I think I can still relate to kids a lot better than most adults do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't relate very well, and I think that's part of the problem.
Well, see, I like kids, because the social masking is something you have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the kids that are too young to have learned that yet, because then they're honest with you.
Yeah, it's not the honesty that gets to me. Like, I enjoy the honesty as well, but it's just there's something about being around children that kind of drains my energy a little bit. And that's where I get the snap, is I guess because they're energetic little balls of fluff.
Oh yeah, no question that they're exhausting.
Yeah.
Yep. I know. I don't know. I have to deal with my kids. I made the decision to have them, so I have to deal with them, gingerly. But every once in a while, they do something, and Papa Bear's got to go off on them. But mostly, yeah, I censor myself pretty well around my kids. Good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we've romanticized having children. And I understand that because of the nature of kids, we kind of have to do that, or else nobody would ever have them. But
Yeah.
it's so romanticized. People are like, "Oh, it's the best thing in the world and it's great." And I'm like, "Not for everybody." I know some people who adore being parents, who just absolutely love it. They will be, they are great parents who just absolutely love what they do, but that is not for everybody.
You know, a lot of people like to treat it as in like it's this huge, great adventure, and sure, and it's like no, 90% of the time you're gonna be tired, you're gonna be pissed off, you're gonna be, trying to
I
figure out what's wrong. You're gonna be frustrated. It's rough being a parent, and I hate when people try to sugarcoat it because then they're just misleading people on what it is.
Mhm.
It's and I don't want to hear is like, well, your experience differs from mine, because that's bullshit. Every kid cries, every kid shits himself, every kid frustrates their parents. It's how it is.
Yeah, and I
You know?
get the temptation to just want to put them down in front of the TV or with a video game, just something to keep their attention for a couple hours. But yeah, the parents that do that as a regular habit, you're not really preparing your kids for what they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah,
Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, it depends on what media you're giving them. If you're giving them something educational, that's fine. If you're just throwing them down in front of SpongeBob SquarePants, and yeah, no. But if you got something like ABC Mouse or something for them to do, I don't want because I hear this all the time as a parent, and I do sit my kids down in front of the TV, but I always make sure it's something worth their attention span. That's just how it is. But you gotta sit them down in front of the TV. They gotta be entertained. But if you can, while they're entertained, you can make sure it's educational.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't mean to put it down entirely.
Oh no, you're fine.
There's some good
I
stuff
know. I
there
just
if you're
wanted to,
aware of what the kids are
yeah.
watching.
I know you definitely wouldn't put it like that. I was just putting it out there on the stream.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
Hi,
and that's
Robot
also why I've always been a
Robot.
big supporter of PBS, that among other things, the kids programming they put out.
Dude, when I was a kid, we had some great kids programming, but a lot of it's trash now. A lot of it is meant to sell toys. But when I was a kid, and yes, Sesame Street sold a bunch of toys, but it was also good quality content. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood was always awesome.
Yep.
Just stuff like that. Barney, as much as people, rip on Barney, but Barney was really a good thing to watch as a kid. But I see the stuff is just Paw Patrol with, like you watch your kid down in front of Paw Patrol, doesn't learn a damn thing, and then in the middle of, in every commercial, there's buy this Paw Patrol toy, buy that Paw Patrol toy. I'm like, God damn it, I'm not made out of money.
Yeah, and that is really a phenomenon that started in the 80s. And while I am actually a Transformers collector, I have to say that the Transformers was probably the show that really made that happen more than any other.
Yeah. But you know what? At least Transformers are cool.
that's true. But yeah, I was noticing what Beach was talking about. I begged because I have trouble with girl stuff. I begged to be sterilized at 25. I've always known I don't want kids. I've always questioned whether or not I actually want a life partner. And I go back and forth all the damn time. And I begged, and I had the money, and I had the insurance, and I asked them to sterilize me at 25, and they said no, because you're going to change your mind, you're going to find a guy, and you're going to want to have kids. And I am now 34 and don't have the money anymore. And I don't think I ever will.
The thing is, as long as you're over 18, they shouldn't give a shit. He's like, no, I'm an adult. I make my own decisions. If I want to regret later, I'll regret later. But right now, I'm making goddamn decision.
Well, and also, in my case, I feel like if I ever changed my mind, I was like, you know what, I could have kids. And I honestly, truly felt that I really, really wanted them. There's this thing called adoption.
Yeah.
Well, and like if a woman is asking for a surgical procedure, it's not like she's going to go to her doctor and he's going to do it that day. They're going to have to schedule a surgery. She's obviously going to have a period of time to think it over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's going to be an impulse decision.
Maybe send her to a counselor or something just to make sure, like, hey, I'm the professionally trained guy to ask you, these questions and make sure you're still okay with this. And then after that, if you're still okay with it, then they move forward on it.
Yeah, and since it's hard to reverse, I would be frustrated with that. But if I knew that the end result was the person making sure that that's what I really wanted, I wouldn't have had an issue with that. Because I do understand that sometimes people have those kinds of surgeries and they do regret them for whatever reasons. I realize that it does happen, but it's so rare, and you shouldn't really prevent people from having it if that's what they truly want.
Yeah. And like I said, it's like if they do regret it, well, that's on them. You make a decision as an adult and you live with it. That's just how it is. But but at least the medical professional didn't say, well, maybe when you're 35, because then when is the time to have the surgery then? When you're 35? Is that what you're saying? You gotta wait 10 years? Because then you're up at 35. It's like, well, maybe when you're 40 you want kids or whatever, by that logic, you'll never have the surgery.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, is they want to, because again, romanticizing having kids. And also, I've noticed that while people are romanticize having and bearing children, adoption is often seen as like a secondhand, like almost thrift store option.
Yeah.
Like, you can go and get thrift store, but it's not as great and shiny as new as having your own DNA children. It's not the same thing, and that bugs the hell out of me just as much as all the other stuff.
Yep.
Because for some people, I had my aunt. She was infertile. She could not have children, and it nearly tore her apart. And then she finally decided to do adoption. And those kids are not her adopted kids. Those children are her children. There's no difference between those kids and the kids that were born to their parents. There's not.
On the plus side, if you adopt a 4 or 5-year-old, they're already potty trained and you don't have to do diapers.
Well, she actually wanted the whole shebang because she's a little bit nutty, but she's my favorite aunt and I love her, and she's got 2 great kids.
Yeah. I'll tell you like this though. I love my dad to death, and my dad's a great guy, but I always know that I've always known that he's resented having me and my brother. I've always known it, and he doesn't try to show it, but I know deep down he does, because he had us at a young age, and he feels like he missed out on a lot of opportunities. He said it a few times, of course he's always apologized for it, and it says he doesn't mean it, but I know he did. And you don't want to raise children in a house if you're not happy. If you're happy, fine. My sister always told me, is like, because I was talking to her about divorce one time, and she says, it's like, and I said something like, well, I gotta be here for the sake of the kids, And my sister said, the kids will be better off in a house with one happy parent than a house with 2 miserable parents. Mm-hmm. And that's, forcing a kid to live with a miserable parent is not healthy.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I've seen how that's torn my dad apart. He lived
Yeah.
in a house for a very long time with two parents who were not happy. And he's in his 60s, and that still messes with him in some ways today.
Yeah. But just in case anyone's wondering, I didn't get a divorce, so I just went to counseling.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
It
knew
helped out a
from
lot, by the way.
I knew from at least when I was 8 years old, that I had overheard my mom saying she was only staying with my dad for the sake of the kids. And, I remember silently pleading, no, don't.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. I mean, I've lived in a house with when one parent is unhappy, the other one's going to be unhappy regardless, because it's just an effect.
Well, my father was an abusive alcoholic.
Yeah, see, no one wants to live with an abusive alcoholic. Therefore, the whole household's unhappy. So you can either take yourself out of the equation and have a household of people who are better off. Sometimes that's better. It's not in my case. I don't abuse any alcohol or any drugs, even though sometimes I wish I did. But if I realized that the house would be better off without me, happier, and I was creating negativity, I would, for the sake of the family, actually leave. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Probably not.
Yeah, it does. What's really fun is finding out. No, I felt resentment from my mom, but I never did from my dad. But what's really fun is finding out that your parents' religion twisted their reality so much that both parents had kids and they didn't want them, but they had them because their religion told them so.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh, but my dad told me I should have been that me and my brother were supposed to be aborted, but they decided against it like last minute.
Oof.
I was like,
ouch.
I was like, gee, thanks, Dad.
No, they never told me that way, but it was like, because my dad told me one day, he's like, sometimes I regret begging your mom to have kids. And I looked at him and kind of weird, and we talked a little bit, and he says, yeah, I had kids because my mom reminded me very, very heavily that it was my duty to have kids. And then I went and begged your mom, and your mom did not know what she was in for. I didn't know what we were in for. And it was kind of one of those, I regret having pressured your mom kind of shortly after her death kind of things. Like, I guess he just wanted to get it off his chest. And I was in my 30s at this time. So it was kind of like, whatever you tell me is not going to do any harm, especially since I know that you're not, you personally don't regret me. But, it was just really weird. I'm like, yeah, no, you realize that now my stance on not having children is even more, embedded in me now, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you have the right stance. If you wanted to have children, have children. If you don't. There should be no stigma against it. There should be. Yeah.
Well, at least you didn't find out that stuff until you were an adult.
Yeah. Well, I did feel my mom's resentment towards me, but it was a complicated situation.
Yeah, the other thing I grew up with was knowing that, I'm the youngest of the family, and that after my sister was born, the doctor had told my father that if she gets pregnant again, it will kill her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they were Catholic, so no such thing as birth control.
Yeah.
I think I've heard this story from you before.
In our case, my dad was in the Navy, and then my mom had me, which wasn't too bad. And then my dad asked for another kid, and then they had my sister, who had spina bifida and was born in the late 80s. And things are a lot better for people with spina bifida now. A lot better. But back then it was pretty bad. I think my sister had like 3 surgeries the first year she was alive. And my dad was going out to sea quite a bit during that time. Because he was there for, I think, the first one. And then he asked for like, I think they call it hardship, where you can ask not to go back out to be there for your family. And they denied him because they thought that my sister was just going to die, and it was in the middle of Desert Storm, and they were just like, nope, not gonna, you're gonna have to go out.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand where my mom was coming from, because she was practically a single parent, taking care of 2 kids, one of them constantly at the doctor's office, constantly in the emergency room, and constantly getting surgeries.
Oh, wow. Wow. Fuck that. I don't know. I hate the doctors. I hate them.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that, because when I was growing up, my sister was a bit older, but she had chronic problems with her ear. So we spent an awful lot of time in, doctors and hospitals.
Yeah.
And basically I was just dragged along because they didn't have a babysitter.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be right back, guys. I gotta let the cat out and take a smoke break.
Yeah.
But
I can't imagine what your mother would have gone through, if when your sister was that young.
Yeah.
That's at least, my sister was at least like, 8 or 9 years old at the time, so she could at least kind of understand some of what was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, having a kid born with a spinal cord injury, even if it's mild, and even with what we've got now, is still a scary thing and a hard thing to deal with. Since my sister has been born, they can actually correct. They can't completely fix it, but they can correct spina bifida in the womb now. That was not an option back then.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember now. When I was living in Minnesota, in one of the relationships that I was raising kids, that a friend of ours, their daughter had some kind of spinal cord problem that she was born with. I don't think it was spina bifida. I can't quite remember what it was. But that, yeah, she had also, by the time she was 3 years old, had gone through several surgeries.
Yeah.
And that's, I had helped take care of her a couple of times.
Yeah.
But that was, even for me, that I was used to taking care of kids, but all the special extra care she needed was a lot of extra work.
Yeah. And my mom, I think, got some help from church, but they didn't really help her very much. And the thing is that, like, I can understand not wanting to actually get involved with a special needs child, especially if you don't know, like, how to take care of them or what to do. But there are other ways to help people out. And my mom was not getting a lot of those helps. People would say they want to help and then not.
Yeah, that's something I've had a problem with my whole life, is, that I'm considered a high functioning autistic, but that I've always had a lot of trouble telling, the people who say they want to help, of who's really sincere about it and who's just saying it because they think they're supposed to, or they're trying to be polite.
Mm-hmm. Or or my personal favorite, I'm going to help, but in the way that I deem necessary, but I'm going to make it sound like I will help with anything. Like, I can understand if you have your limits. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying what that is. Like, if you're the kind of person who helps by bringing over food, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just outright say, hey, I'm the kind of person who brings over food. Would you like food? Because even that would have helped my mom a lot.
I'm back.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the one thing with my family that's pretty much the way they handle everything is with food.
yeah, same here. If anything goes wrong, like, I'm not good with advice. I'm not good with, like, comforting words. If you want to cry on my shoulder, go right on ahead. But food's my deal. If things go bad, I can bring the food.
No, I wish I could go to food like that. But found out I was diabetic like a few years ago, and it has totally screwed me over.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's in the end, eating healthier is never really a bad thing, but like I can't, if I'm having a stressful day, I can't just open up like a pack of Oreos or something anymore, and that kind of thing just bums me out from time. Or the fast food commercials, like the Sonic commercials with that cake batter shake, and I'm just like, I want it so bad.
Yeah, I have trouble controlling my sugar intake, which I really should be better about because my chances of becoming diabetic are pretty high.
It's weird. It's weird because they diagnosed me as type 1 at the age of 28, and I was like, don't they only diagnose kids at type 1? They're like, usually we do, but you're like one of those rare cases. It just happens to. I'm like, God damn it.
No.
Yeah, my fiance was diabetic, so I learned to cook for it.
I almost yeah.
There was a lot
died.
of adjustment for that, of trying to, find things that she would find satisfying that were within what the doctors were saying she should have.
I almost died because I had my diabetes uncontrolled. I ended up going to the hospital because my stomach was hurting really bad. It turned out that I went to diabetic ketoacidosis. Basically, my blood became really acidic and started eating everything from the inside.
That's what happened to one of my friends. She didn't know she was diabetic. And then one day, her blood sugar just went super high. Like, her blood sugar was at the level that normally people go into a coma.
Yeah.
And she was somehow still awake.
Yeah. My blood sugar was like 600 something, and it was ridiculously high. It was horrible.
Yeah.
They said if I would have waited another day, I would be dead.
She wound up going to the hospital across the street from her work. Her work basically, and she was at Walmart, and anybody who's worked at Walmart knows that they are terrible to their employees.
Yeah.
But she was trying to get through the day, and normally Walmart's like, suck it up, do your job. Her boss looked at her and said, you need to leave, and if your ass doesn't go to the hospital right away, I'm going to hunt you down.
Yeah.
And drag your ass to the hospital. So she wound up going to the hospital, found out she had diabetes, started to get that taken care of. She's been able to keep it controlled. It's been good, but it's sad how many people find out they have diabetes by almost dying.
Yeah. If we had a better healthcare system where people could afford, like regular checkups,
Yeah.
that would probably help that situation. If I would have went to a checkup or something, I could have had a control, not had to be in that situation.
Yeah, well, and it would, and that's another example of why a national healthcare system would actually save money for programs like Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
It really
because if people could get preventative treatment, they wouldn't wind up going in the hospital so often.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and also, I mean, even barring going to the hospital so often, I mean, preventative treatment winds up catching it early enough to where you don't wind up spending thousands of dollars in the long run to correct a problem that's already gotten too bad.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll tell you.
her diabetes cost her way much more than it would have if she just caught it early.
You know, speaking of costs, the drug prices on insulin are ridiculous. When I dropped a vial when I first became diabetic, I dropped a vial of insulin one time on accident, and it shattered on the floor. Well, I was like, okay, well, I'll call up the pharmacy and order some and get some new insulin, and they're like, yeah, that'd be $400. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
$400? Are you fucking nuts?
Yeah, I had that with my fiance. That one time, for some reason, the insurance didn't go through when I went to pick hers up, and for a month's supply, it was going to be $600.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much life-saving medicine costs. And it feels like no one is like there's only a few people fighting for it to go down, but and I hear all these people saying it's like defending it. I'm like, no, fuck that shit. It's like the people defending it don't have these kinds of diseases and stuff.
Well,
You know?
Yeah,
it's really
no,
absurd.
a lot of times what I hear is, I don't want to pay for your stuff. And
Yeah.
it's just like, but you don't understand. If we lowered the prices, you would be paying less overall, anyways. And if we made it accessible, you would be paying less overall, anyways. And you're fine right now, but shit happens to everybody at some point, and then you're fucking yourself over for that moment when it finally hits the fan.
You know, the thing is, like, I've always been for Medicare for all, or at least for some sort of universal health care, but it's never been a personal thing for me. It's just, I thought it was good policy, but now it's personal. Now it's
Yeah.
like this isn't something that affects me personally. If when they were deciding, when Trump was trying to dismantle Obamacare at the beginning of his term, I was shitting bricks. I was shitting bricks. It was insane. I was stressed out. It was horrible. I was like, man, one day, if this vote goes through and they pass, dismantling Medicare, and Obamacare, I'm screwed. I'm literally screwed. I could die. And I think that's not a reality a lot of people, imagine with these policies.
Yeah. For me, it's not really personal, but I have a lot of passion for the subject because I've watched and dealt with loved ones deal with it. So I guess
Well,
maybe it is
it is
slightly
personal, yeah.
but it's just like people are just like, it's my money and this is not how I want to spend it. And I'm like, bullshit. Once you hand it over to the government, it's the government's money, first off. And second off, you're fucking yourself over as a selfish bastard to keep other people from getting the help they need. Screw you.
Well, it's also like, well, I don't want my money going towards someone's medicine, but I'm fine with it going towards a tax break for the top 1% and for multiple regime change wars that we shouldn't be in. I'm fine with that, but you getting your medicine, fuck you.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm pro-life.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that proves the medical costs are such a scam is if you compare the cost of the identical medicines in the US and Canada, and then realize that for 3/4 of these medicines, they're coming out of the same factory for both countries.
What was
That we're exporting the stuff to Canada where they're selling it for less than 1/10 of what we're paying for it here.
What was that big pharma CEO who raised the price of atropine injectors by like 1,500%? That was insane.
Yeah.
I know the story you're referring to. I don't remember which company it was.
I can't remember the name of the company. Oh gosh.
I just know the CEO was like most hated man in America, you know.
Yeah, well, and also I'm trying to think the EpiPens.
Yeah, the EpiPen.
Yeah, that whole thing, like the daughter the daughter was a lobbyist, went and created a false demand by asking lawmakers to make it a requirement to be in every school, and also for people who have anaphylactic like for instance, I'm giving an example, it's kind of tangential, but it kind of proves my point a little bit better than the words forming right now. But my grandmother could not get her allergy medicine, which was 100% effective and only costed her about $30 with her insurance, but she couldn't get that until she also bought one of the EpiPens, because legally her doctor could not give her her allergy medicine without selling her an EpiPen, and the EpiPen was not covered by her insurance.
No, that's fucking
So
garbage.
that was the same, that law was also put into effect the same time as so they created a demand, which of course skyrocketed the prices.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, and the kickback from that is now we're experiencing a shortage of the EpiPens.
Oh, of course.
My cousin owns a landscaping company, so, he's working outside any day it's not raining, but he's deathly allergic to bee stings. If he gets a bee sting, it could literally kill him. So he has to have one of the EpiPens, and these things expire. He can only keep them for a couple of months, and you've got to get them replaced even if you don't use them.
Yeah.
And like all last summer, he had to go without them. We couldn't have one on the job site because basically the pharmacy could not get them in.
Wow. That's horrible. I'm probably going to go hit the sack, but it was really nice talking to you guys.
Nice
Okay.
to talk to you too.
Well, thanks for stepping in.
Yeah. All right, guys. Guys have a good night, and stay motivated, America. Brave Rifles. All right. You guys have a good one.
Night.
Night.
Yeah, get some good rest.
Oh man.
So now it's just down to the two of us.
Yep.
Anybody in the side chat have any questions, or anybody out there want to jump in?
Or yell at me for having stupid ideas?
First, you'd have to have a stupid idea, and I haven't heard any.
That's true. Of course, you haven't been around me when I'm drop dead tired yet. I am tired right now. I probably won't be on for like too terribly long, but I get punch drunk after a certain point.
I understand what you mean. For me, it takes a lot longer because I'm used to not sleeping much.
Yeah,
I've actually gotten to the state where I've slept 4 or 5 hours over the course of 3 days and get to the point of hallucinating.
Oof, never been that bad. I usually crash before then. I'm not so much of an insomniac as I cannot create a good sleeping pattern.
Yeah.
Because I want to be a night person, but I have to be a day person. And that screws me up a lot.
Yeah, I've never had a regular rhythm. My body just doesn't run on a 24-hour clock.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, the closest I've ever gotten when I could actually try to time it is I think I run on something like 26 and a half hours. So it takes a long time to wait for that to get back into sync if you let it run on its own.
Oof. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, and of course, when other people are expecting you to do things at normal times of the day, you really don't have the opportunity to just let that run on its own. You've got to try and force it. And, you know, I can't force it going to sleep earlier. So I just wind up going with a lot less sleep.
My thing is I can't go to bed earlier to straighten it out. I have to stay up, which really screws me over even worse.
Yeah, well, and I've gone to sleep specialists and I've tried all the different medications, and it's like there's only 3 things that work. 2 of them are controlled substances, so nobody will prescribe them. And the third one had very nasty side. Well, actually, there were 2 of them that had difficult side effects.
Ooh.
The Ambien apparently made me uncharacteristically hostile, which I had to take other people's word for it because I would get memory gaps with it too. That not only from when I took it, but it's like everything that happened 2 hours before I took it at night, I would forget.
Ooh.
So apparently I was starting fights with people, and the next morning I wouldn't remember it.
That, ooh, fun. I am very, very sensitive to melatonin. I cannot take it.
Oh,
When I take it, I don't sleep. I get super, super, super drowsy, but I don't sleep. And any interactions with me are very, very volatile. So I don't take melatonin ever, no matter how much sleep I need or trying to get back on my schedule.
yeah, for me it just doesn't have any effect. You know, and the doctor had me up to taking like triple the dose he would normally prescribe for someone my size.
Oh, wow.
And it just did nothing at all.
What's funny though is Benadryl. Benadryl will knock me completely out for I am also sensitive to Benadryl, and that will knock me out. And I know Benadryl makes people drowsy, but I can cut it into like a quarter of the normal dose, and it will still knock me out.
Well, that's
for
Benadryl
5 or
is
6 hours.
diphenhydramine. And
Yeah,
if you look at most over-the-counter sleep medicines, that is the active ingredient is diphenhydramine.
yeah.
So yeah, for most people that puts them out. And Sloth Girl's like that too. If she takes a Benadryl and a couple of Advil, she'll be out.
Yeah, I mean, I cut it down to like a quarter of a dose to see if it would just make me drowsy. Because for most people, it doesn't completely knock them out. It just makes them a little bit drowsy.
Yeah.
For me, I'm out like a light.
Yeah, and the conspiracy saying I prescribe whiskey, and yeah, unfortunately, I've had to be resorting to that way too often lately.
I
But
do not drink.
Well, I'm on 5 prescriptions, and 3 of them are ones that come with warnings of may cause drowsiness, and it's like, yeah, tell me another one. You know, just nothing seems to have that effect on me. There's just something weird about my brain's chemistry. You know, so I get a lot of times that, you know, I'll be physically tired, my body will be tired, but I can't get my brain to shut down.
Yeah. That happens to me on occasion, especially when I'm stressed. If I'm stressed, I can't get my brain to shut up.
Yeah. But since I've been living up here in this little town with nothing to do, unfortunately, my alcohol consumption has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Basically, at this point, I only socialize through the computer, so at least it's not really a dangerous thing, because the worst thing that happens is I'll pass out in my chair and YouTube will be running random videos. It's not like I have to worry about driving home or anything.
Yeah.
Sloth Girl goes out a couple nights a week, because she can do things. She can do karaoke. She can actually sing. She's got a wonderful voice. You don't want to hear me sing, and I can't take bars. I can't take crowded places. I can't take that much noise. I get, especially with noise and bright lights, I get overstimulated too easily.
In my case, everything is so spread out, it's hard to get anywhere unless you drive. And we kind of had that conversation earlier where it's like, I do not drive.
Yep.
Unless.
Well, me too.
Unless
I am subject to the highway hypnosis that if I have to drive a long distance at night, I can kind of start zoning out. So a little worried about long trip taking, but trying to prepare myself for it.
Yeah.
Beej was saying she thought that melatonin only worked for jet lag. But yeah, for some people it does work for helping reset their circadian rhythms, that if they take it at the same time every night, it can help set them back into a regular pattern.
Yeah, and most people don't react to melatonin the way I do.
No, yours is really the most extreme I've ever heard of.
Yeah, like I will not fall asleep at all on melatonin. It keeps me up, but makes me drowsier and makes me a very angry lady. Of course, by the time I'm taking a medicine to try to help me with sleep, I'm already aggravated because it's like, damn it, I want sleep. I love my sleep. I don't get enough of it. Well, I actually get more of it than I probably should, but I love my sleep. You mess with my sleep, things go bad.
Yeah. Well, I'm basically chronically sleep deprived, so yeah, anything that shorts me on what sleep I'm already getting gets me very cranky.
Yeah.
And people don't get things like, yeah, I shut my phone off when I go to bed at night. If you want to call me in the morning, fuck it. I've got a big enough family that even if it's an emergency, there's somebody else you can call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the few advantages of a big family.
Sometimes I wish I had a couple more people to help out, and then other times I realize that that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, well, in all honesty, one of my problems is that my family tries to help, but they still have no concept of who I am or what's important to me. So their help is oftentimes more of an interference than a help.
Yeah.
And the conspiracy is congratulating me for pronouncing karaoke right. Yeah, I have certainly heard it both ways. I didn't know it was that big an issue to anyone.
I don't know. Some people are big on pronunciations.
Yeah, but I know there's a lot of things that the pronunciations are regional. That different parts of the country, the same words are pronounced quite differently.
Boo. They need to all decide to have the same pronunciation because it said so.
Well, especially where I've noticed it the most is you get the people from around New Orleans that have the heavily French influence there.
Yeah.
And that's just up here in the Midwest. We've got a lot of things with French names that nobody pronounces right and nobody cares. Because it's like it's actually not so much French names as it was like somebody trying to translate into English a Frenchman mispronouncing an Indian word.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, I think that's where most of the names for like the towns and rivers up here come from.
A lot of ours come from I guess are kind of similar. I don't think they're nearly as bastardized, but a lot of the names here in Florida are based on the Native American tribes that were living in the area, like the Ichnetekni, oh gosh, I can't think of any of the others, but there's like a ton of our state parks are named after the Native Americans that were living here.
Yeah, we've got that here actually. We're on the border between the Ottawa National Forest and the Chippewa National Forest.
Americans bastardize damn near about everything. It's what we do.
Yeah. Actually, one of my background projects I've been working on for quite a few years is making a British to American translation lexicon. It's the working title for it is "What is a lorry and how did you get hit by one in a zebra crossing?"
Yeah, except that you're gonna have to get the different regions in there too.
Yeah, well, and now with the people I've been talking to online, I'm going to have to at least include an appendix for the Australians.
Oh, they're smart. They'll figure it out. They make up words all the time.
Where did didgeridoo come from? That just sounds like a nonsense word. Where did they get that name for an instrument?
Okay, first of all, we've had this conversation. Australia isn't real, and everybody that we've interacted with from Australia is a hallucination.
Well, see, but Nacho's been around so long that, I've kind of come to a compromise on that. Australia is sort of real. It doesn't have object permanence. It only exists as long as there's an Australian currently online.
No. I do not accept that. I might accept the theory that instead of a hallucination, they're an imaginary friend. I might take that, but no, I disagree with you.
Well, it's real. It's just on the bottom side of the flat Earth disk.
Orla's asking if you have a cold. I know the answer to that question, but I'm not going to answer for you.
Was she asking that me or you?
You.
Okay, you seem kind of sniffly. No, I have chronic sinus problems, though.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a sinus infection.
Yeah, for me, it's just, changes in the weather. My sinuses get blocked up real easily. And also all sorts of allergies. And I spent all afternoon cutting my sister's grass, so that was just kicking up all sorts of things to flare up my allergies.
We fun.
Yeah.
I started on a sinus infection about 3 months ago, and I'll just get close enough to getting rid of it, and then it'll come back.
Mm.
somebody opened nail polish around me a little while back and did not, I think it was about 2-3 days ago, did not know how how sensitive I am to it. Did not know that that at best it sends me into a sinus infection, and at worst it puts me in a migraine. I got lucky, but I can't go to the doctor. I make too much money to receive help, but not enough to be able to afford to go to a doctor without insurance.
Yeah, again, that's why we should have basically government-owned health clinics where any citizen can, walk in and get the treatment they need.
Yeah, I have a couple of things, and I haven't been as good because I'm broke, but I am probably going to go and get some tom yum soup or some tom kha gai. I'm slaughtering those pronunciations, so please don't kill me. But a lot of times I can get rid of a sinus infection if I eat something spicy. It's just I have not really had money to go and do or get anything to really counteract it beyond making sure that I have allergy medicine and that I have a decongestant.
Yeah, one of my exes was like that too. That I wouldn't be able to pronounce it properly either. But yeah, like when she got a cold or that, the best thing was if I got the super spicy soup from the Thai place.
Yeah, that's where I plan on going, or I know how to make them, and I'm not sick enough to where I can't make them myself. It's just it's so hot in my house. It really is. It's been averaging between 85 and 88 in the house right now. So,
Yeah. I don't know. I can take the heat pretty well. It doesn't bother me much.
I don't deal with heat very well, especially in this really, really humid ass house. Because I'm sure the heat index is even higher. Because my house is humid enough that if you set an onion on our table and leave it there for about a week, it will start to grow. And it will sit there and grow without soil or being watered.
Yeah, well, we're having that problem tonight with the humidity, just because, I didn't get to finish the lawn just because it wound up downpouring. So, now it's like all the water's evaporating. But here it's a temporary condition and that'll pass.
Nope, ours is humid all the time, which sucked earlier today because it was so hot. When Dad and I went to Walmart, just
What's that? Orla's saying our NHS has been slashed so much, apparently surgery needs to be required. Yeah, I know in a lot of states that the funding for Medicaid has been gutted for a lot of states.
Yeah, I don't think ours has been gutted, but they definitely have redone quite a bit of it. My sister is in a program where that's based on a point system, and they, according to the amount of points that you get inside system, is how much money you get to help with your medical stuff outside of her Medicaid. Oof.
Yeah.
I just read what Orla said. Ow.
Yeah, well, that's my brother lives in Wisconsin, and the company he was working for, they closed down that plant. So it's like all of his insurance and everything just went, and he has a hernia, but now he's got no job. He can't get a job because he has a hernia, and he can't get any help to pay for the surgery because they're saying it's a pre-existing condition.
Oh, man.
So it's like, again, long-term thinking here. Wouldn't it make more sense if Medicaid paid for the operation so that he could then go back to be working and paying taxes again, rather than just be laid up in his house all the time? Because right now he can't lift 20 pounds. And what kind of job can you get if you can't lift 20 pounds?
There are some jobs, but they probably will hurt a lot. Basically sitting at a desk.
Yeah. And the conspiracy, actually, I'm living in Michigan, and from what I've been hearing from people, it doesn't seem too bad up here compared to what a lot of other states are.
Yeah, our state constantly tries to gut Medicaid. It never succeeds because people will get into office with the intention of gutting it and then realize just how much of the population is dependent on it due to where and how we live. And then they go, oh, well, maybe that's not a good idea. I might lose voters. I might lose a lot of voters. Never mind.
Well, and that's basically what happened with Trump trying to cancel Obamacare. Was enough of the Republican senators realized, yeah, how many of the people that vote for them are relying on that?
Obamacare is messed up. I don't think it should be abolished, but they need to revamp that a lot in some areas. The best thing that they did was the keeping insurance companies from denying you based on previous diagnosis or previous conditions.
Yeah.
That was something that was desperately needed. But there were so many issues with that.
Yeah, it's got a lot of serious issues because it was forced to do a lot of compromises before it could be passed.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest issue is that the insurance companies are still involved in it. That you still have companies there, who are making money off of denying people care.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly where it went wrong. It was these are the things that we want changed, and it got morphed into something different than the original intention and basically screwed everybody over. Well, I wouldn't say everybody, but a good portion of people.
Yeah. Ooh, Orla, sorry to hear about that. I had hernia surgery myself a year and a half ago.
I totally agree with that sentiment, Orla. It should not be a profit-based system. I don't believe in complete socialization, but healthcare is healthcare and education are two of the things that I do believe that we should be socializing.
Well, there should at least be a minimum standard that everyone's guaranteed. I'll even go along with the thing that, yes, some people with more money may be able to have like private add-ons to it.
Yeah.
But there should still be a minimal level that everybody gets.
Yeah, and it should be a humane minimum level, not Oh, we've been looking at. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in this chat have been looking at Sweden's system. It's
Yep.
getting the people in charge to freaking look.
Well, the Scandinavian countries have some of the best systems. Even Poland has really a good socialized medical system that anybody, you don't even have to be a citizen, anybody can walk into a clinic and be seen. You just have to be a human being.
Wish America had a system like that. But of course, we have to make the money. If we take away the profits, then what's going to happen to all the research? Which is a very, very stupid and comically sad argument all wrapped up in one, because the way our drugs are researched is they often get federal funding at universities, and then private companies buy up the information and then produce the medicine. So technically our taxes already pay for the research and have nothing to do with the amount of profits we make in the first place.
Yeah.
But nobody knows this information for the most part. So, oh no, we can't take away from the profits. Whatever will we do?
Well, like I said about Canada, and Canada's not unique. The American drug companies are selling the exact same drugs in a lot of other countries for a fraction of what we pay for them.
Oh man, a root canal for me, I think, would cost around $3,000. I think it was the last quote I got for one. I had to pull the last tooth I had a problem with. I had to pull it out instead of any other work on it because I couldn't. There was no way I could afford it.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm stuck now. That I've lost all my teeth, but they can't even fit me properly with dentures until I have a surgery on my jaw, and the insurance won't cover the jaw surgery, and it would cost about $20,000.
Eesh. Ugh. Dental is even worse. What's sad is dental messes with you so much worse than so many other things, but it's still considered a luxury, even though, like, an infection can cause heart problems and, like, major sinus problems and so many different things. But no, it's a luxury, and not everybody can go get dental.
Yeah, and the conspiracy saying $3,500 for dentures.
Ooh, damn.
And upped it now to like 5,000. Yeah, and like you're saying, even people who have like pretty good insurance plans, like through their work or that, even the good health plans often don't include optical or dental.
Well, you can get, and the funny thing is that you can get dental for fairly cheap. The problem is that even with that, the best you usually can get is 70% of whatever your procedure is. So if you're just doing something like that's like a little $50 procedure, that's not so bad. Something like a cleaning or whatever. But then you go and you talk about stuff in the thousands, and you still have to pay, you still have to pay a pretty penny out of pocket because your dental coverage doesn't really cover everything.
Yeah, like you're saying, if a root canal costs you $1,000 and it's only covered 70%, you've still got to come up with $300.
And that's a lot for most people.
Well, yeah,
most people don't have that laying around.
Yeah, most people really don't have any money saved anymore.
I don't. I used to. I used to have at least, and now granted it wasn't a lot, but it helped helped cushion in emergency situations, but I used to have around 750 to 1,500 at any time. And again, that's really not that much, but it was something.
Well, and most people, it's not only not having anything saved, but so many people are just in debt.
I know people who are doing their best. Like, they're not spending, like, they'll occasionally treat themselves and stuff, but they're not really spending frivolously, and they're not even really making it paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I make it through month to month. I'm not getting ahead, but I don't have any debt. And
Yeah.
I actually realize that's doing a lot better than a lot of the people around here.
Yeah, and sadly it's becoming more and more common. And I have people arguing me down about lazy people spending frivolously. And I'm like, I get it. There are people who are going to spend frivolously. There are people who are going to scam. There's people who are always going to try to get whatever they can off the system without working. But you have to admit that the cost of living and the amount that people are getting paid do not in any way, shape, fashion, or form really match up right now.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's been a while since I've seen statistics on it, but even a couple of years ago, they were saying that the average American, had like $6,000 to $8,000 in credit card debt. And that had basically become the norm.
Yeah. Our system needs a serious, serious makeover. Everything needs it's revamping. And unfortunately, those kind of revamping that we need is not going to happen until we change people's ideas on what should be available to us. And unfortunately, I have met a lot of resistance on that front, and I'm sure other people in this conversation have too.
Yeah. And the conspiracies bringing up another point that, just because you have insurance, you still have to find a clinic that'll take it.
Yep. Or my personal favorite, you have insurance, but the deductible is too high. There's no way you'll ever reach your deductible, and you're basically burning money that you don't have in the first place.
Yeah, or the copays. That's I've known people who, again, had reasonable insurance, but every doctor visit was like a $50 to $100 copay. And it's like, yeah, most of the people I know, an extra $50 a month is the difference between whether or not they paid all their bills that month.
Mm-hmm. Which was what frustrated me with Obamacare at one point, because I'd dance around the line between being able to get help and not being able to get help. And one year I danced right into the middle of that, where I qualified for some help, but not really enough, and I had to pay money. And the insurance that I bought through Obamacare, the deductible was so high and the copays were so high that it was like I was basically sending $200 a month to insurance companies for nothing. Basically, I couldn't use it. Fortunately, that only happened 1 year, but still.
Well, and that was one of the big problems with Obamacare was, requiring everyone to get insurance without acknowledging the people who were on that pay scale that they couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
Oh, good night, Beej.
Yeah, I was in that group for a little while. It was very, very frustrating because I was like, I could be using that $200 to just pay my doctor. Like, my doctor would actually charge me less than this. And it was just frustrating because basically I would have gotten more out of it if I had burned the money. At least it could have, like, you know, fired up a bonfire and done s'mores or something with the burning money.
Yeah, and that's, really to guarantee that kind of minimal health coverage level for everyone. What has to be done is to get the insurance companies out of the equation.
Yeah.
There has to be a pool for everyone, making below a certain amount of money that they can get the health care directly without having an insurance company involved.
Yeah. Robert, I understand that concept, but the thing is that yes, people should all pay in and all chip in. I'm not against that. What I'm against is putting people in the situation where they don't have money to burn and they have to burn the money and they're not getting anything out of it. Like, if I were getting something out of the money that I was throwing, I'd have been cool. But I was literally just going, here's my money, and now I can't go to the doctor.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think, the only practical way we're going to get that about that, everyone should pay is to go to a socialized program where it's just something that's part of the general taxes that are collected.
Yeah. But I would not want that system put in place now. I would want it to be set after we've gotten our attitudes changed about taking profits out of the equation. Because I don't trust our current administration to put universal health care in place.
Yeah.
Which sucks because we need it now, but
Yeah, well, I agree with you that as long as Republicans have a majority control over Congress, we're not going to get anything that's going to be functional for low-income people.
no, we're not.
Okay, Robert's saying it's a bad system. Are you saying that the taxing is a bad system, or?
Or our current system.
Yeah.
Because if it's the current system, I agree. Our current system sucks. We're lucky in my house that my dad is a veteran and that my sister is on Medicaid. And that I do have my issues, but none of them are like life-threatening or, debilitating at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, I mean, I've got my share of complaints, but, none of mine is life-threatening, and just what I went through with my fiance, that, she was on the verge of declaring bankruptcy just because they kept coming after her for, the past due medical bills, and we just did not have the money to pay it.
Ugh. There have been a couple of times where I've come close to needing to do bankruptcy. Really close. But they wound up eventually just writing me off and saying, I guess we're not going to get it. So.
Yeah, but, she had, so mostly it was just the acute asthma attacks she kept having that kept winding up with us having her at the emergency room.
Asthma's rough.
Yeah, and over time I started to realize what her triggers were, even some of them that she hadn't picked up on herself. And to this day, you know, she died 5 years ago, and I still have a psychosomatic panic at the scent of diesel exhaust, because I had realized that that was one of the things that would set her off. So it's like anytime I smell diesel exhaust, you know, I have that rush before I consciously think it through, because it's like, this means we're going to the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, because I picked up on that because I realized that every afternoon at 3:30 she was having an attack. And when I realized that, you know, I started closing the windows just before that. And what it was when the school buses would drop kids off and they'd be idling under our window. And that's what was setting her off every day at the same time.
Ew.
Well, you know, once I realized it and I was on it and closed the windows every day before the buses arrived, you know, then we got through it okay.
Yeah.
But she just, you know, she had a lot of just chemical sensitivities. And, you know, there were even times like, you know, when our neighbor across the hall would do their laundry, I would warn her not to go out in the hallway, just because the scents from the laundry detergents and the fabric softeners, you know, would linger for a couple of hours, and that could be enough to set her off.
Ew.
Oh, hi, Doc, checking in again. Yeah, I would agree with the idea of making the medical facilities nonprofit. You know, or again, at least, you know, the hospitals and basic clinics. And yeah, maybe there could be some for-profit ones for the people who could afford them, but making sure that every neighborhood had a clinic that was nonprofit. Uh,
All right. I am kind of fading out, Perp.
okay.
I think I'm going to get some sleeps.
Okay, well, appreciate you having you here.
Always glad to be here. Good night, all.
Good night. So now I'm all alone in here. So don't have my usual people. Don't have any of the Australians around. So does anybody have any questions for me? Or maybe we should just wrap this up early tonight. Because without somebody to talk to, I don't know what to talk about here. Yeah, I don't know about the medical centers even being treated so much like a charity as, what if they ran hospitals more like public utilities? You know, it's kind of the system that think would probably be more practical. Oh, yeah. Next week we're not going to be doing this because next week I will be driving all day on Thursday to get to Pittsburgh by Thursday night to pick up Diana, so that then I can sleep there, and then on Friday we'll drive down to Kentucky so that we can sleep there to be rested and not have a long drive Saturday morning before going to the protest. Yeah, we've all been kind of worried about Diana, but I guess you probably weren't here at the beginning, that we were actually kind of speculating that one of the things that she is saying about being tired a lot. And, she did say that that's possibly a progression of the kidney failure, that the going into stage 4 kidney failure, the chronic fatigue, is one of the symptoms. So, she hasn't been around late at night as much. I think she's just needing to sleep a lot more. And she is having some problems with the isolation, but I know she's really looking forward to the trip next week. So I'm hoping that's going to pick up her spirits. And oh, what time do you run your Saturday stream? You could certainly send me a link, and if I'm around for it. Yeah, I actually haven't talked to Diana for a couple of days, but I know that she did post some things on Twitter yesterday, at least, if not today. Okay, yeah, that's, if you want to send me a link to your stream, if I'm around, I'll hop in there. Yeah, this weekend I probably will be. Oh, yeah. I do have an Amazon wish list. I should put links. I should start putting links in the descriptions, but I didn't seriously think anybody was going to donate anything to me, so I haven't been doing that yet. I should be able to pull it up here, though. Oh. Yeah. Ah, crap. See if this works, if I can get the link right. Wait. Oh, well. Not quite right, because I'll wind up doxing myself, but if somebody's willing to help me. And there's a link for the Amazon wish list if you want to help. Mostly what's on there are upgrades for my computer. So I will appreciate any help anyone cares to give me, but considering the minimal amount of content I've been putting out, I didn't think anyone would take it seriously, so I hadn't been including links in anything yet. Sorry, Orla, for cash. I mean, if somebody wants to send me money, you can always send it through PayPal. So, but like I say, that's, I wasn't expecting anybody to send me anything, at least until I started putting out content on a regular basis instead of just managing a video every couple of months, especially since all the videos I've done have been so short anyway. Well, thanks, Robert. I appreciate that. And, like I say, I've got a computer that's, about 5 years old now. So even if people are upgrading, I'll take the used parts. There probably would still be an improvement over what I've got. But I guess instead of me just sitting here monologuing, I will shut this down for tonight. Certainly with the long drive coming up next week, me trying to get some extra sleep is a good idea. So last chance if anybody's got any questions. Otherwise, I am going to shut this down and everybody can go to bed. Well, thanks, Spooky. The live stream's kind of lazy content. It's not something I have to prepare much for in advance. But, part of it is when I listen to the stuff I've recorded and play it back, I don't think my voice comes across well. I'd actually rather have it if I could just write the scripts and have somebody else read them. But, okay. Well, good night, everybody. I'm going to go offline here. So, yeah, I will still be doing the broadcast Tuesday at noon Central Time. But, yeah, then next week, I won't be doing it on Thursday. And, yeah, I should be back home by Tuesday, so it'll probably just be next Thursdays we'll miss. Okay, well, thanks, everybody, for coming. We're going to set a record, I think, for the shortest stream I've ever done. This has only been about 2.5 hours, but good night, all.